I used to work at a McDonald's just off the highway, the kind that's open 24 hours, stuck between a gas station and an abandoned strip mall. You could tell the building was old. Grease clung to the walls no matter how much you scrubbed, and the tiles were chipped so bad that mop water would pool in weird spots overnight. But it paid better than most places around, and honestly, night shifts were usually dead quiet. My manager, Joe, always joked that if you survived a night shift, you were basically unkillable. I thought he meant the drunks and weirdos who stumbled in at 3 a.m. I didn't know he meant something else. It started on a Tuesday night. Real slow. Only 2 customers the whole evening, a trucker and some teenager who looked like he hadn't slept in a week. By 2:30 a.m., it was just me, Joe, and Sarah, the drive-thru girl, counting down the minutes until morning. Joe was in the back doing inventory. Sarah was cleaning the ice cream machine. I was wiping down the front counter when I saw it. A shadow flickered past the PlayPlace. The thing is, our PlayPlace had been shut down for over a year. No kids. No lights. No reason for anything to move in there. I wiped my eyes, thinking I imagined it. Long night, right? Sleep deprivation plays tricks. But then I heard the ball pit. That unmistakable plastic rustling. And I swear to God, someone started laughing. At first, it was soft. The kind of giggle a little kid makes when they're hiding and trying not to get caught. High-pitched. Quick. Almost playful. Except there shouldn't have been anyone in there. I leaned over the counter, trying to peer into the shadows of the PlayPlace. The cheap overhead lights didn't reach that far, and the windows looking into it were smudged and fogged from years of greasy air. I could barely make out the old structure, the plastic slide, the faded tunnels, the ball pit that hadn't been cleaned since the pandemic. Another rustle. Another giggle, louder this time. "Joe?" I called out, my voice cracking a little. "You hear that?" Nothing from the back. I figured he was neck-deep in freezer inventory, blasting his earbuds. Sarah poked her head around the corner, holding a dripping cloth. "You talking to me?" she asked. "You here laughing?" I said. She frowned and shook her head. "Just the ice cream machine dying." She disappeared again, whistling some song way too cheerful for 3 a.m. I was alone at the counter, staring into the dark PlayPlace. Then, just for a second, I saw a hand rise up from the ball pit. Small. Pale. Fingers twitching like it was reaching for something, or someone. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. Because the moment the hand disappeared back into the pit, something else rose up. A face. And it was smiling at me. It wasn't the kind of smile you see on a happy kid. It was too wide, stretching past where the lips should end, like someone had taken a knife and carved extra space. The skin was pale, almost gray under the flickering lights, and the eyes, God, the eyes, were pure black. No whites. No irises. Just twin pools of nothing staring right at me. I stumbled back from the counter, heart hammering in my chest. The face dipped back down into the ball pit like it was playing hide and seek. Or stalking. I was still frozen there when Joe finally wandered up from the back, clipboard in hand. "Inventory's a mess," he muttered, not even looking at me. "We're short 3 cases of fries again. I swear to God if corporate—" "Joe!" I croaked. He finally noticed how pale I was. "You good, man?" he asked, half concerned, half annoyed. "There's something in the PlayPlace," I said. "I saw it." Joe set the clipboard down, rubbing his face. "Not this again." "What do you mean, again?" I demanded. He hesitated, glancing over his shoulder like he didn't want Sarah to hear. Then he leaned in close and said, low and serious, "You're not the first one to see it." Joe rubbed the back of his neck, looking real uncomfortable, like he regretted opening his mouth. "Look," he said, glancing toward the PlayPlace windows. "This location, it's got history. Before it was a McDonald's, it was something else. A diner, I think. Maybe before that, even older. I don't know. But weird stuff's always happened here." I stared at him, waiting for more. Joe sighed and leaned against the counter. 2 years ago, he continued, there was this new kid, 16, just got hired. Good worker. Real quiet. One night he said he heard crying from the PlayPlace. Thought it was some kid got locked in after hours. Joe's voice dropped even lower, barely a whisper. He went in to check. He paused. He didn't come back out. A cold wave rolled over me. What do you mean? I asked. Joe looked me dead in the eyes. I mean, we never found him. His jacket was still in the break room. His phone was behind the counter. But him? Gone. The ball pit rustled again. Both of us snapped our heads toward the sound. You're telling me this now? I hissed. Joe just shook his head, like he hated even talking about it. We're not supposed to, he said. Corporate said if anyone asks, say he quit. Same thing they said about the others. I blinked. Others? Joe didn't answer. He just reached under the counter, grabbed the keys to the PlayPlace door, and slid them into my hand. If you're gonna look, he said, voice grim, don't go alone. Behind us, a soft thump echoed from inside the ball pit. And then, the unmistakable sound of something crawling. I gripped the keys so hard they dug into my palm. The PlayPlace had a separate entrance, a glass door right next to the main seating area. Half the time it was kept locked, a faded, "Closed for maintenance" sign taped across it. Now, the door shuddered slightly, like someone, or something, was leaning against it from the other side. Joe wasn't coming with me. He stayed planted behind the counter, arms crossed, staring at the ground like if he didn't look, it wasn't real. Sarah still had no clue what was going on. She was humming again, blissfully scrubbing the floors. I swallowed hard, walked to the PlayPlace door, and slipped the key into the lock. It clicked open. The smell hit me first. Not just the stale air of disuse, but something sour, something wet. Like a towel left to rot inside a gym bag. The overhead lights inside were dead, leaving only the glow of the restaurant bleeding weakly into the space. It didn't reach the ball pit. It barely touched the base of the slide. I stepped inside. The door creaked shut behind me. And I realized, with a sick feeling in my gut, that it locked automatically from the outside. I was alone. Or at least, I thought I was. Then, out of the ball pit, something rose up. Not a hand this time, but an entire figure. It was wearing a McDonald's uniform. A name tag glinted dully on its chest. Benny. The kid Joe said disappeared. And he was smiling. That same two-eyed, broken, horrible smile. I wanted to move. I wanted to scream. But I just stood there, frozen, as Benny, or whatever was left of him, climbed out of the ball pit, one jerky step at a time. His movements weren't right. They were stiff, mechanical, like he didn't remember how joints were supposed to work. His head twitched to the side, bones cracking loud enough to echo in the empty PlayPlace. The name tag caught the light again, Benny, swinging on a torn, blood-stained thread. And then he opened his mouth. The sound that came out wasn't words. It was this wet, ragged breathing, like he was trying to suck air through lungs full of mud. "Help me," he gurgled, the words so warped they barely sounded human. I staggered back, my foot slipping on the greasy floor. I tried the door, yanked at it, but like I thought, it was locked tight. Benny took another step toward me. Then another. His eyes were like two black pits, swallowing the little light there was. Behind him, the ball pit began to bubble. The plastic balls shifted and rolled as if something much bigger was moving underneath them. Something that made the entire PlayPlace tremble. Benny reached out a hand. Not to attack, not yet. But almost like he was begging. "Help me!" He croaked again, and something dribbled down his chin, dark, syrupy, and thick. I had 1 second to decide. Stay and help. Or run and maybe save myself. And that's when the thing under the ball pit erupted upward. A massive, shapeless mass, dragging what looked like dozens of other arms and faces with it. All of them smiling. All of them reaching for me. It was impossible to make sense of what I was seeing. The thing that rose from the ball pit wasn't just one body. It was a writhing mass of them, melted and fused together, like someone had shoved a dozen people into a single, seething nightmare. Faces pushed out of the mass, mouths frozen in silent screams. Hands, too many hands, clawed at the air, some dragging across the plastic tunnel supports, leaving dark smears behind them. And at the center of it all, staring right at me, was a face so big it pressed against the glass windows of the PlayPlace. I realized with a sick, slow horror. It wasn't human at all. Its features were warped, twisted into a grotesque parody of the McDonald's mascot. A red, sagging mouth. 2 wide, yellow-stained teeth. And those lifeless, soulless black eyes. It wasn't Ronald McDonald. It was something pretending to be him. Something older. Hungrier. Benny's twisted form was dragged backward, swallowed into the mass, even as he kept reaching for me, his mouth locked in that awful plea. "Help me!" I stumbled away, slamming into the side of the slide, knocking over one of the brittle plastic towers. The noise drew the thing's attention. The mass shifted, lurching forward. And in an instant, the ball pit collapsed into a black, gaping maw. The PlayPlace itself groaned like the whole building was about to cave in. Somewhere behind me, the door rattled. Someone was trying to get in. I turned to look, hope flaring. But when I saw what was standing on the other side of the glass door, my stomach dropped into my shoes. It was me. Or at least, something that looked exactly like me. Grinning ear to ear. And it was holding a set of keys. It stood outside the PlayPlace door. My double. Same uniform. Same tired eyes. But the smile was wrong. Too stiff, too wide, like someone had stapled it onto my face. It jangled the keys in its hand, teasing me. A slow, mocking shake. Behind me, the mass of bodies was getting closer, dragging itself across the cracked plastic floor, making a wet, slapping noise that filled the PlayPlace with the stench of rot and old fryer grease. I pounded on the door. "Joe! Sarah! Open the door!" The thing that looked like me just cocked its head, watching. Then, still smiling, it dropped the keys. Right there, on the other side of the glass. So close I could see the scuffs on the metal. But completely out of reach. From somewhere inside the restaurant, I heard Sarah laugh. A light, bubbly laugh that twisted into a sound no human throat should make. And then, even worse, I heard another voice. Joe's voice. But not coming from the kitchen. It was coming from inside the ball pit. "Come on, buddy," it croaked. "You know the rules. One more fry shift, and you're one of us." The mass surged forward. I ran, no plan, no thought, just pure terror. I scrambled up the slide, plastic groaning under my weight. The inside of the tube was pitch black. Too dark, too tight. Something brushed against my foot. I kicked, crawling faster, shoving myself upward, praying the top exit wasn't blocked. Behind me, the sounds of scraping and giggling chased me up the tunnel. Soft hands brushed my ankles. Whispers filled the air around me. "Stay, stay, stay." I saw the light at the top, the hatch to the top platform, half busted and barely hanging on. Freedom. But just as I reached for it, a hand burst through the side of the slide, grabbing my wrist with icy fingers. And it wasn't Benny this time. It was me. My own face, staring at me through the cracked plastic, mouthing words I couldn't hear. But somehow understood. "Trade places." Its grip was impossibly strong. Cold. Leaching the heat right out of my body. I yanked and twisted, trying to free myself, but the fingers dug in deeper, nails piercing skin. The face pressed harder against the cracked plastic. My face. Only now the skin was starting to peel back, revealing something raw and dark underneath, like wet newspaper soaked in oil. The whispers filled the tunnel louder now, words tumbling over each other. "Stay, stay, stay." The thing didn't want to kill me. It wanted to be me. I did the only thing I could think of. I threw myself backward. Down the slide. Gravity took me, and I tumbled hard, scraping elbows and knees against the rough plastic. I hit the bottom wrong, rolling onto the PlayPlace floor. And the second I landed, the ball pit exploded outward. The mass of bodies surged at me. Arms and hands clawing, faces stretching wide in hideous smiles. I bolted toward the entrance door, shoulder checking the glass with everything I had. The door cracked but didn't break. The me outside was gone now. Just empty darkness beyond the window. I backed up, heart hammering so hard I thought it might punch through my ribs, and threw myself at the door again. It gave way with a screech, slamming open. I stumbled out into the main restaurant. The bright fluorescent lights were blinding after the dark of the PlayPlace. Joe and Sarah stood behind the counter, watching me. Expressionless. Still. Too still. "Help me!" I gasped. "It's in there. We have to." They just stared. And then, perfectly in sync, they both smiled. That same broken, too-wide smile. I backed away, toward the exit. The door was only a few feet away. I could make it. I turned to run. And standing right in front of me, blocking the door, was another me. This one wasn't smiling. This one was crying. Tears of black grease rolled down its face. And in a voice so soft it barely reached my ears, it whispered, "You never left." For a second, the world seemed to tilt. Like gravity just shifted sideways. The lights overhead buzzed louder, flickering faster, throwing long, jerky shadows across the floor. The restaurant stretched out weirdly around me, walls bending, windows warping, the golden arches outside twisting into ugly, skeletal shapes. The crying version of me just stood there, black tears dripping onto the tile. Behind me, Joe and Sarah kept smiling, their faces splitting wider and wider until they weren't faces anymore, just gaping holes filled with teeth. The only thing moving normally was the clock on the wall. It ticked forward. 1 second. 2 seconds. 3. And then, at exactly 3:33 a.m., the lights snapped off. Total darkness. In the dark, I heard footsteps. Hundreds of them. Soft, wet, shuffling toward me. I ran. I didn't think. I just ran blind, hands out in front of me, searching for the door. The crying me was gone. Joe and Sarah were gone. The mass in the PlayPlace was gone. It felt like I ran for hours, my sneakers squeaking against the greasy tiles, the smell of old fries and rot choking my lungs. And then, my hand hit a push bar. A door. Without even thinking, I shoved it open and stumbled out into blinding sunlight. The parking lot was empty. The gas station next door was shuttered. Everything was silent except for the buzz of cicadas in the trees. I turned back to look at the McDonald's. It was closed. Boarded up. Windows smashed and covered in graffiti. The golden arches were rusted and bent. The PlayPlace structure. Gone. It looked like it had been abandoned for years. And sitting in the cracked drive-through lane, half buried in the weeds, was a McDonald's uniform. My uniform. Fresh. Still warm. With a name tag clipped to it. One word, black letters on cheap plastic. Benny. I stared at it, heart jackhammering in my chest. And from deep inside the ruins of the restaurant, I swear I heard it. That high-pitched giggle. Soft. Playful. Waiting for the next one. Waiting for you.